And away we go. It is the aftermath. Oh, one heck of a therapy session is needed tonight. In fact, if you're going to the game on Saturday against Kansas, 2 p.m. tip-off, you might want to go see our good friends at Mio's early and get nice and hammered before you go over and watch the Bearcats play the Jayhawks, because it feels like a necessity maybe at this point. Go see our good friends at Mio's. Great pizza. Maybe get a pie to soak up some of that delicious Cincy Light before you head over to the game. Great appetizers, great atmosphere. At least there's something positive in Clifton right now. Go see our good friends at Mio's. They will get you taken care of. And they are the proud sponsor of the Aftermath. It is a crossover episode tonight. So, Aaron, take it away.
Yeah, if being down around campus or on the west side is not good enough for you, if you're over on the east side, you can check out our friends at Remington Tavern. Remington Tavern can be found at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. On Instagram, they can be found at Remy Tav Cincy. That's REMITAV Cincy with a Y. Or you can follow them on Facebook. They, of course, are George and the Jungle's main sponsor there. But, yeah, I guess with the crossover episode. Yeah, there we go. With the crossover episode, let's get going. Hooray.
All right. You're muted, George.
Oh, sorry, George. I muted you for the beginning with all the background noise, George. Sorry.
Yeah, I've got some kids playing some virtual reality stuff right next to me, so if it gets loud, you want to hear me yell at some kids?
Yeah, I want to hear somebody yell at somebody.
Oh, I will. I would think Wes would be yelling at somebody right about now, but I don't know. I would think he's peeling the paint off the walls.
I'm going to go first. I don't normally go first. I'm going to go first. Where is the fight? Like, that's the one thing that stood out to me kind of from the jump in this one. You started 0-2 in league play. Like, this is what we talked about, like with the danger of playing Villanova, the danger of playing Kansas State, the danger of playing Arizona. Those were teams that had high expectations, that had struggled, and you knew going into their place or playing Arizona here, they were going to fight you. Like their energy was going to be at an all-time high. They were going to be ready. They were going to bring the fight. They were going to be crisp in their execution. They were going to like tooth and nail whatever it took to get a win. And what I saw tonight was a team that, Baylor started switching screens. And I was, a lot of people are complaining about the offense right now. So as a result, I try to pay attention to what's happening off the ball so that we can talk about it. And it was almost like when Baylor switched a screen, the guy that they switched on just stopped. Like there wasn't continued execution. There wasn't getting into the secondary of like, they have to know by now teams are going to switch screens on them. They've seen it 3 games in a row where teams are saying, we're not going to let CMOS come over the top, but we're going to hard hedge on Jizzle. Like, these are things that have been happening for a couple games now. They're working on stuff in practice to counter these things, but it takes great effort. It takes great attention to detail. And desperate teams play with great attention to detail because they're desperate, because they understand the season is kind of teetering and they need to get it right or things are going to go off the cliff. And I saw a team tonight that felt like Toonsis the driving cat was driving the car off the cliff. Like the murderer is inside the house. Like, and what that leads me to is it's becoming pretty clear that nobody has stepped up into that John Newman role.
Right.
That would hold guys accountable. That would that would, let you know that what's happening and what's going on is not acceptable. Who on this team is that guy? Who is putting his foot up somebody's ass? Because we're not seeing it. Like, this is the second game in a row. The intensity defensively just wasn't there. And Baylor cooked them for it. There was no second half turnaround like we saw against Arizona, where they picked up their intensity, they picked up the pressure, they got Arizona out of what they wanted to do. That did not happen at all tonight. I don't know if it got, let's see, 1.153 points per possession for Baylor. That dropped over the final 5 minutes. It was up around 1.3 for most of the game. Baylor plays a slower tempo. They want to grind you out on offense, run good stuff, get open looks. They were incredibly efficient tonight until they got to the end of the game and just kind of were in cruise control. The defense was terrible. The offense was just as bad, if not worse. I did not see a lot of passion. I did not see a lot of energy. I saw Jizzle James go 2 for 11, Simas Lukosius go 2 for 7, and Dylan Mitchell go 0 for 2. For 3 of your top 4 guys, they made 4 out of 20 shots.
Brutal.
1-3. 1-3 from Simas that was at the beginning of the game.
It was his first shot.
Yeah. They are at come to Jesus moment internally. If you want to blame it on West, fine. There's plenty of blame to go around. But for me, who is taking accountability inside that locker room and saying, this shit doesn't happen? Like, we're not going to go down like this. Especially, you could tell right away. Pretty much at the second media stop, it was like, man, this is going to get away from them real quick. If they don't crank it up, they didn't crank it up. They looked like they were on a Sunday drive. And this team is too talented for that. Like, this team has too many quality pieces for the third game in a row to be, and they used it again tonight. They used the word again tonight, casual. They look casual. They don't look desperate. They don't look, they don't look like there's any fire in their belly. They look like, if we win, we win. Cool. If we lose, we'll be okay. It's early. We still got a lot of time. And now you're staring down the gun of a game where, look, you might come out and have fire and intensity against Kansas and still lose by 15, 20 points because of the way that you're playing offense and the way that you're shooting right now. Like, this is as frustrated as I've been in a while because I just did not see a team that was playing with the passion that you expect a Cincinnati Bearcats team, especially one as talented as this, to play with. If you want to put that on the coaches, put that on the coaches. If you want to put that on the players, put that on the players. If you want to put it on both, put it on both. But everybody inside that program needs to figure out between now and Saturday what the fuck is going on, because it's not good enough.
Not nearly. It's not pretty at all. And you talk about the passion and all that, and it's funny. They had that one bank commercial in there about the coach saying, take the charge, when the lady said she had charges she wanted. UC had a chance on a couple of breaks to stop the ball and either take a charge or at least just stop the damn ball, right? They didn't do it. And they give up layups on the break. You talk about Baylor switching. There were at least twice, and it probably happened more, where the smallest guy on Baylor's team is underneath the basket guarding Aziz, and no one automatically gets the ball down to him. And those are basic basketball things that slip past him tonight. And it may go back to that lack of passion and that lack of attention and that lack of will. It just really boggled my mind, some of the stuff I saw out there. And I will complain about that half-court offense, because it feels like to me they can't even get it inside the three-point line until there's like 8 seconds left on the shot clock. And then it's just desperation city. The first possession of the game ends up in a shot clock violation. They were in the teens on turnovers again. They had 8 in the first half. Then they come out the second half, and about the first 8 minutes, they didn't have any turnovers. And then for the next 4-minute segment, my God, they probably had 5 or 6 of them. It just went like that. Very disappointing. And I hope you're right, Chad, about the talent being enough to win in this conference, because it has looked thin since they've been playing these better teams.
I think tonight is a glaring example of stuff you run into when you have a player's coach and you have a guy who it's hard to switch gears and go into, I'm going to chew your ass in the middle of a game. I know he talks about how they respond well to criticism and respond well to hard coaching and things like that. I want to see harder, if I'm being completely honest.
Right.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that you also had travel issues last night where the plane was on the tarmac until God knows what time. So Chad, I don't know if you know what time they actually finally got in.
About midnight.
This morning. Okay.
About midnight.
And that throws off your whole routine, your schedule and all that. But it's not an excuse. It's worth mentioning, just not an excuse.
I don't think it is. If it was a noon game and they got there at midnight, yeah, I would mention it. It was an 8 o'clock at night game. Like, you got there 18 hours before you played. You had plenty of time to get some sleep, do your walkthrough, play the game tonight. Like,
I'll tell you this, when I was their age, I could drink a half a fifth of this and be ready to go the next night at 8 o'clock.
I also want to double down on 2 takes I had the last time we did this, Chad, where I still think at this point, especially again after another 2 of 11 night from Jizzle, I think that you have to start day. I think I'm there. You need to start day. I have not seen anything out of Jizzle over the course of conference play that warrants him being the starting point guard on this team if you want to win. That said, I also want to double down on the fact that I don't think that you can play more than 2 guys off the bench at the same time. You have to figure out how to do it in rotation where you cannot have more than 1 guy off the bench right now. And
Aaron, I don't think that matters at all. Their starters, you would have a point if their starters were playing well.
Yeah.
They're not. Like, it doesn't matter who's on the floor right now. So, yeah, I mean, that's look, all I will say is that's like 37th on the list of things that are going wrong right now is you've got 3 subs on the floor at the same time. Because when you've got your starting 5 on the floor at the same time, they are also playing like shit.
I still hate this offense. I think that I know it's way too late in the season to just completely change your offense, but I hate this offense.
You don't even know what the offense is.
I don't
That's
either.
a problem.
I don't either, because you know, the best shots are what? Layups and in the paint. How do you get outscored 22-2 in the first half in the paint? And then, God, what was it for the game? 40-something?
40-16. And a lot of it was
better in
layups.
The second half, but some of those on
it
the
was
break.
Layups that Baylor gave up when they were up 20.
Correct. Like that. I don't know what the last one was now. I thought it was
Josh Reed dunk.
Somebody else.
It was Josh Reed
they got
dunk.
some down the stretch when the game was already decided. But you got to find ways to score inside, and they're just not even close. I mean, they're outscored 22-2, and I don't know how many shots they would have had in the paint. I know Day missed a layup. Jizzle had a couple short turnarounds he missed, and since the beginning of the Xavier game, he's shooting less than 30%, I believe, somewhere in that. I mean, it's just been atrocious. And
he was 3 for 11 against Arizona and 2 for 11 tonight. Didn't make a 3 in either one of those games, so that's 5 for 22 with no threes. He doesn't get to the free throw line. So tonight, he 5 points, 2 of 11 from the floor, no assists, 3 turnovers in 25 minutes. He was minus 16, the worst plus minus on the team.
And what's scary about it is, and he looked so good at times last year and earlier this year, he looked like he was going to pick up where he left off. But it's not an exception. I mean, it's kind of like a trend now that's become commonplace with him. And that goes to Aaron's point. that maybe you got to start off with Day-Day in these games. And I feel like defensively Day-Day's been playing better. And my God, how many times did defenders get burned tonight by those guards? And look, the one kid's
all of them. All of the times.
Yeah.
All of the times, George.
It was tough to watch. And it was hard. And it's just like, and I know the one kid's going to the NBA, but you got to stay in front of the dude. You just got to figure out a way. And I don't know. I don't know if and I know Wes has gone to more switching here recently. I don't know what the answer is, but we ain't seeing it right now.
I mean, I did see a new lineup that I had never seen before tonight, and that was Aziz and Paige in the game at the same time. Don't ever want to see that again, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, let's not do that.
But
I think it was just they were getting beat to the rim so bad they tried to put a little more size to cut them off when they got there, at least. But I mean, Baylor got to wherever they wanted with the ball for 40 minutes. There was no resistance whatsoever from Cincinnati's defense.
And that's very disappointing because I really did think their defense was going to keep them hanging around some games. And, it looked pretty darn good Saturday in that second half after they got down 19, but the end result was a loss, and the defense just did not show up tonight. And I hate to think if they did get in at midnight, I mean, my God, they had to be plenty fresh enough by 8 o'clock this evening to be able to play some defense against the Bears, but it sure didn't look like it.
Baylor is down 2 guys. Yeah, 2 of their bench guys are out. So they essentially are playing with 6 guys right now, and that's it.
Yeah. Still kicked our ass up and down the
court. Which is why they had a whopping 7 bench points. You know what? They didn't need any bench points. I mean, between Edgecombe and that other guy, holy God.
Robert Wright was their 7 bench points, and he's good enough to start on this team right now.
Yeah, you're probably right.
He was 2 of 6 from 2, so he'd fit in here.
Yeah, I'd take it. I'd take it. That's better than some people right now.
But I just hope this whole thing isn't completely going off the rails. But when you have Kansas coming in, I don't know I mean, it's sold out. It's going to be sold out. It'll probably be somewhat, the crowd will be somewhat into it at the beginning, I would think. But it's disheartening. I mean, I'll be there, but it's not like I'm, chomping at the bit to watch this team play right now because these last 2 games, I mean, to fall down 19 to Arizona, and yes, this was exciting. They came back and tied it. But this is disappointing, beyond disappointing.
They look like a bottom third of the league team. And that's not even if you I think I had pretty realistic expectations about this team. We talked about what I thought were going to be some of their shortcomings. It turns out it has been true and then some. I still thought that this was a team that was going to get in that 12, 13 win range in the league. They are making that look like a pipe dream right now.
Right.
They are making that look like they're playing, Arizona beat the hell out of West Virginia tonight. Arizona is going to finish near the top of this league. Kansas State got destroyed tonight. They are not good. They're not good. That one is one, not a whole lot of excuse for that. But we knew with Arizona, Baylor, and Kansas coming up, you got to go win at Kansas State.
Right.
Because if you don't, there's a very real chance, even if you played well, that you were going to start 1-3 in the league. And now you're not playing well, and you're going to start. I don't see any path to them beating Kansas on Saturday. I don't see any path.
No, I mean, for the last, since that Villanova loss, they beat Xavier. Looked okay beating Dayton, but, Grambling, my God, us 3 could pick up 2 guys and, well, probably not.
No, we didn't. Let's not get carried away.
I don't know. It's just been, honest to God, do not have a good feeling about this team, and I really didn't even. I know Villanova was one game; it was on the road, and they kind of woke up out of their slumber, but
they've been really good since then, by the way.
Yeah, but that one kid's phenomenal. He's just tough to handle. But those are all things I expected this team to do when they came into the season. I thought this was going to be a tournament team. I thought it was going to be in the top half of the field. And right now, it's not a tournament team. And you might even say it's not an NIT team the way they're playing right now.
They're not going to be on anybody's bracket tomorrow.
No.
I said that the last game, and you jumped all over me, Chad.
I said they're not at that point yet, but then they came out and laid a complete egg and looked like they had anything better to do but to show up in Waco and try to win the game.
Ugh.
You get what you earned. They hadn't earned that yet. They had lost 3. They were 10-3. They lost 3 games. They had a couple good wins. They had not earned saying that they don't belong in the NCAA tournament. Now they're going to have to and here's the other thing that we haven't really talked about. They're going to get through this Kansas game, and then they're not going to have a whole lot in the Big 12 that's going to really boost the resume, other than games at Houston and at Iowa State. And yeah, because this league is not really like a monster this year like it has been. So, if you just pull it up, the next stretch is going to be 85 Kansas, 56. These are KenPom numbers. 85 Colorado, 56 Arizona State, 15 Texas, 39 BYU. The Texas Tech one would be a good one to get at home. But then 89 Utah, 48 West Virginia, 79 UCF, 89 Utah, 76 TCU, 94 Kansas, 103 Oklahoma State. Like this, we had told ourselves it'll be all right if it gets a little bumpy early, because you'll be able to play your way back into, heavy contention. And right now, it doesn't look like there's going to be a whole lot of opportunities for this team to do that. Because the league isn't as good as we thought it was going to be.
And their record against, top 50 teams or top 75 teams is not going to be good at all.
Yeah.
And then that's the first thing you're going to be looking at when you're on that committee. So it's a shame. I mean, there were high hopes, and I think everyone had pretty high hopes coming into this. But Wes has got to get this thing figured out. I don't know what to tell him, but he's the one making whatever the hell it is to coach his team. So he's got to figure this out.
Ugh, yeah. Have at it, boys. I've said my part.
Aaron, are you as sick as me?
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at 16 points in the paint, you're looking at 15 turnovers on the game, only 4 steals. That's a terrible, terrible, terrible ratio for a team that prides itself on defense. I don't
right. Points off turnovers. What, 7 points? That one, nothing. You look down the line at this thing, and I still, fast break points, 4 for the Bearcats. I think 2 of those came late in the game.
I think you're right, actually.
I mean, it's just they got steamrolled, and a legit top 25 team. And yes, it's on the road, but you don't get beat around like they've been beat around these first 3 games. And they hung in there at Kansas State, but it's Kansas State. Arizona, they made the nice comeback, but you still lose, and it's at home. And then you go out there and lay just a miserable egg tonight. And I always try to tell myself it's never as bad as it looks at the time. And sometimes it's never as good as it looks at the time. But this one feels really, really bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're looking at Jizzle, Dillon, and Seamus combined for 10 points. 4 of 20.
Yeah, and back to Chad's earlier point, you already knew you're 0-2 staring at 0-3 with Kansas coming in Saturday. So where's the desperation? Where's the stuff we saw Saturday when they were down 19? You didn't see that. It's it's the same thing the Bengals were talking about yesterday with the beginning of their season. You got to play at all times when you're in a competitive league, and Lord knows this one is, and so's the NFL. Every game has got to be played like your life depends on it, and this is your last chance. Because if you don't, you're going to end up where it is your last chance, and you're not going to be ready to get back in it. And, obviously the Bengals did what they could down the stretch, but the Bearcats are going to run out of time after a few more of these. I mean,
there's one big difference, George.
Yeah.
The Bengals have Joe Burrow, who, when things go to shit, like, they at least still have a chance to win because Joe Burrow is on the field. And this team does not have a Joe Burrow. They haven't had the best player on the floor yet in 3 Big 12 games. And guess what?
No.
It ain't happening on Saturday either.
No. And I, I'm hopeful that someday it does happen. But when they're playing the better teams this year, it is not going to happen. And that's disappointing because I thought their talent level was going to be good enough this year that we weren't going to be having these conversations. But it's not there yet. And Tyler Betsy comes in tonight. He's a freshman, but, again, we saw what we've seen the last several games out of him. Page, pretty much same thing. And I thought these guys might be able to help some off the bench, but I don't see much help at all off that bench other than when
what was the message? We need to play these guys early so that they're ready when we need them in conference play. And they have not taken that next step. They are getting harder and harder to put on the floor instead of easier and easier. Well, of course, the competition got better.
Right.
They didn't match the level of competition. So now it's even harder to play that. Like, you're getting to a point where it's harder to put those guys on the floor because you can't. They haven't shown that you can count on them for anything.
Correct. And they're costing you games by not helping. And so you can't put them in there. I don't know. Can Aziz play with an oxygen tank strapped to his back? I don't know. I mean, they got to come up with something.
He's already got a center strapped to his back from the other team because they know how important he is to everything this team does. He's the only guy that played with any passion in the first half.
I know when he got that block from behind on that break, I really love that. That was actually their transition defense was really struggling until that happened.
He's
struggled after that happened too.
Yeah, it did. It did.
He's the only player who's played with passion through 3 games. I felt like Seamus was scared to shoot the open shot tonight. He passed the open shot several times tonight.
Well, he did make that first one. Then he came down. He shot a couple more that were open. And one of them, I think he shot from pretty deep. He probably shouldn't have taken the shot. And that was like the third 3 he took of the night, and he missed that. And then he kind of shut it down for a while. You're right. I think he just kind of lost that confidence and looked like the same old guy he's been for a while here. I mean, my gosh, since the Dayton game where he had, an atrocious night down there, but he's been under 30% since then. I mean, it's what
From
was
3 and 2.
Yeah, 2 and 7. I mean, God, 2 for 7. It's just, I don't know where they go. I'm glad I'm not in West's shoes, but like I said before, he gets paid the big bucks to figure this stuff out. So it's time to, pull on those big boy pants and get to work.
Yep.
I mean, really, it looks like he can only play 6 guys anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you got a couple guys that you're playing for, for depth purposes, just to give an extra 2 minutes. I mean, what? Hickman played 10, so that's 5 minutes each half. Page played 11, again, 5 minutes each half. Betsy played 8, 4 minutes each half. So those guys are subbing in for essentially one segment or like
Right.
2 parts of a segment in each half, and that's it. And
Yep.
they're not giving you anything when they're on the floor.
No,
So,
but I guess to Wes's credit, he is pretty much just playing 6 guys. But my God, I just, I don't know what the answer is. But I know I didn't see it tonight coming off the bench.
I didn't see it tonight in the starting lineup either.
No.
Outside of Dan's the only guy in 3 games that's played with the pulse.
What's
offensively.
that?
I said Dan's the only guy in 3 games that's played with the pulse in terms of looking to score, looking to be assertive, looking to make something happen offensively. It's like, the rest of the guys are just, like I said, they're not coming off screens with any passion. They're not setting screens with any passion.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. They never seem to finish the screen when they set it.
They're all trying to slip.
It's right. It's like
they're all trying to slip.
They're there, and then they're gone before like the screen can even take effect. And I don't understand that. That's something that they got to beat into their heads here. It does no good to stand there and then leave a half a second before the player needs you. It does no good.
They're doing it on ball screens. They're doing it on off-ball screens. Some of the off-ball stuff, like I understand because they're switching. You're trying to to beat a guy that's like switching on you, but then they're not passing. Like they did it once. At the end of the game, they set a ball screen. Ball went to the wing after the ball screen. Aziz rolled to the rim. They hit Aziz on the quick roll, and he had an easy basket. That's the only time they made them pay for overplaying the ball screen.
Right.
Instead, most of the time they just sit there and let it happen, back up, or like I said, if it's an off-ball screen, as soon as the player that's coming off the screen sees the switch, he's stopping.
Yeah.
That's not that's not how it's drawn up. I know that's not what they're telling them to do.
Well, it's unfortunately he has nowhere else to turn in terms of personnel. I mean, I probably believed he did before the last several games, but he's stuck with what he has, and it's unfortunately looking like another season. It's just going to end without a trip to the NCAAs, and this program's been too good for too long to fall back into that trap for a 10-year period like it did back in the 80s.
You want to hear something frightening, George? Guess what their offensive rating on KenPom is right now?
Oh my, I don't know. I don't know.
98.
Not far off. 83.
Oh God.
They have fallen all the way to 83.
Yeah, that's
on KenPom.
That is happening.
83 is a gift.
That's happened in a hurry.
No, that's what they've earned is 83. But the problem is that number has been declining pretty steadily. And they haven't even played the good defensive teams in the Big 12 yet, I think is the like, if you really want to pull your hair out wondering what the rest of this looks like, they haven't played the good teams yet in the Big 12 defensively, at least.
They scored 48 points tonight. Of course it's going to decline rapidly. It's inflated by non-con.
No, Aaron, you don't know how those work. They're adjusted for level of competition. Like that, they put in to the equation, you played a bad defense. This is what you're supposed to do against it.
It's still artificially inflated by non-con.
No, that's what the whole point of adjusting it for competition is about. That's why they do that.
Okay. I looked at that formula, and I can't tell you what it is, but it's pretty detailed because it does take into account like the defense you're playing against, and
like you have to play really well against a bad defense for your metrics to go up because you're supposed to beat the shit out of them. The problem is they've played okay defenses to open Big 12 play and have been bad. And Villanova did not have a great defense. Like
Right.
you're taking teams in the 60s and 70s and making them look like they should be top 15. That's the problem they've had the past 3 weeks.
So let's see. They were so from 2-point shots, Baylor was 22 for 40, right? Over 50%. God
Yeah.
almighty.
Baylor cooked them. That's
You know,
the first time the defense has been bad.
Yeah.
Really all year. Like even against Villanova and Kansas State, the defense did enough to where they should have been able to win those games. Like those teams didn't shoot well percentage-wise. Like really the only team that's played good offense, I thought, was the second half against Dayton when they were desperately trying to come back. And then there were a couple stretches where I thought Xavier played pretty well on offense. That was a healthy Xavier team that was supposed to be really good offensively. But the defense has been okay. There's still 9 in KenPom in defense. But the offense has gone from top 20 to, if they don't get their shit together, they won't be in the top 100 by next week.
And that goes back to the way they've been shooting the basketball. And I don't know how much of that is shot selection. I mean, some of those shots were point blank that Jizzle missed in the lane.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, that certainly correlates that slump. And maybe that's the word I was looking for earlier. I say slump, but it's almost like a trend now. It's almost what you expect these guys to do, and that's unfortunate.
You know what that makes me think of, George?
Not the slump buster.
Marty, these guys are gonna hit.
Jerry
Narin.
Yes,
Marty. Sir. They're batting 216 on the season. Marty, these guys are gonna hit.
Well, maybe we should transition into some Reds. How much time have we spent talking about the Bearcats? 35 minutes?
I like this comment. Did Themus get hit by a car?
Oh, man, it feels like it. It feels
like you got hit by a truck. Forget a car.
I'm not certain the entire starting 5 outside of Aziz. Maybe Aziz hurdled it like Kobe in that commercial, but everyone else.
Dan has been excellent the past 3 games, but he's the only one.
Yeah.
He's good, but he's not that good.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of his points came tonight when it was pretty much already settled, but there's still points.
Well, I mean, he tried at least at the beginning of the second half to play him back into it, but they couldn't get a stop.
Right.
But he hit 3 or 4 threes in the second half and was being aggressive. Like if they could have got some stops, they might have gotten it back into that 12, 15
down the water, 11.
Yeah, and then immediately it was back up.
Well, it's funny when the announcers also said when UC was down 14, and they said it feels like a lot more than 14, and it really did. It really, I guess that's why that, and it was the same way at Kansas State. They were kind of in the game, but it just felt like they were out of the game just by the way they were playing. They
get it to 14. They have it at 14. They got it to 12 a couple times. They get it to 14. Dan misses 2 free throws. They get a stop, and then they come down and throw the ball away.
Right.
And like you could have had it at 10. And then the other team starts feeling a little game pressure, maybe get a little tight, but they never put any game pressure on Arizona because they couldn't execute offensively when they had the opportunities. And then if they didn't get something, Baylor scored. I mean, it was quick, man. And that is not a team that really likes to score quick on you, but they were going to whatever mismatches they had figured out in their preparation and just working them to death.
Yep. They did a great job with that, and UC did a lousy job with it. Did not contain that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. You guys can talk about Reds or whatever you want.
What do you want to talk about, Aaron?
I don't know.
The Bengals,
No.
will that make you happier?
That segment is brought to you by This All Sucks. .com.
God. I guess we'll transition into the Bengals talk here. We'll talk that real quick. Yeah, this is for those who are used to listening to the Aftermath. This is the show that George and I normally do, where we discuss all Cincinnati sports. We do that on Tuesday nights at 9 generally. This is the crossover portion of that show. But yeah, the Bengals, they did what they needed to do this weekend, and they beat the Steelers in a game that was entirely too close, 19-17. But it was not enough, as the Kansas City Chiefs went ahead and just gave the game to Denver. I'm not even certain.
How much were you holding out hope that Kansas
Zero.
City could take? Okay, good.
Zero.
I was trying to tell everyone there was no way in hell that, first of all, they weren't going to play anyone.
No.
Second of all, that game was at Denver. And
The Chiefs knew the assignment, George.
What's that?
The Chiefs knew the assignment. Lose.
Yeah. Well, and there's some thoughts about that too. That you would much rather have the Broncos in the playoffs than the Bengals if you're anyone with designs on going.
Sure.
Right.
Except if you're one of the media channels, they certainly did not want Denver in the playoffs. That's not good for ratings.
Well, I'm going to be blasphemous here and say that I'm not sure the Bengals would have gone to Buffalo and win anyway.
I think it still would have at least been more of a game than Denver in any.
I would agree. Anytime you have Burrow, you have a chance. That's for sure. But I just, and the Bengals had those 5 straight wins down the stretch. But again, you look at who they played, who the quarterbacks were, and Bo Nix gave them all they could handle in that game a week ago Saturday. So, and Bo Nix looked really good again for a rookie in that Chiefs game, but he was playing a bunch of backups. But still, you give the kid credit. But yeah, the Bengals have to it's no secret, get off to a half-ass start next year. We said that last year. But what do you think about these firings, Aaron? Anything going to change?
No, because you left the head of the snake. This team was too good, and all of the personnel decisions he had a hand in. And you left Zach Taylor at the helm. And I just cannot understand how you truly believe that this guy is going to get you where you need to be.
I thought you were a Bengals fan.
Look,
this guy went to the Super Bowl, Aaron. Marvin Lewis didn't win a playoff game and was the head coach of the Bengals for 84. It's been 84 years. Like, they are not getting rid of the guy that took them to a Super Bowl and an AFC championship.
I've been told by the Bengals, I've been told by the media, I've been told by the fans that everything has changed with the Bengals organization. No, not shit has changed. Nothing's changed. We continue to give too long of a leash to the head coach.
It's still Duke Tobin and a couple of interns running the scouting department.
Yep.
Well,
so
Duke had some good drafts there for a while, but recently.
Oh, come on.
For a while.
You and Aaron could have picked Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow.
Oh, yeah. I'm not talking about those drafts. I'm talking about the drafts.
Marvin Lewis drafts. Yeah.
Well, there were a couple. But look, they got to figure out how to draft defensive players. I don't know what's going on, and I don't know if that plays into some of Lou's demise. I mean, obviously, the defense was an issue this year. I think Lou's a damn good coach, and I think he's going to do well after this somewhere. I don't see the talent on that side of the ball, obviously, that you see on the offensive side, and you go out and get all these bells and whistles for Zach's offense, but there's not a lot of bells and whistles on that defense. They brought in Geno Stone. They brought back Von Bell, who I'm not sure is the same player he was here a couple years ago. They haven't invested in any corners to speak of. I mean, Cam Taylor-Britt, a high draft pick, but Do they go out and get, they got Mike Hilton a few years ago, and that's turned out to be good. But, and then the defensive line, I understood the DJ Reader thing because of the injury, and I wasn't sure a guy that size is going to come back that well off the injury, but he did. I just think they have to invest a little more in that defense, and I'm afraid they're not going to if they, bring back T. Higgins on a contract and Jamar on a contract, and you've got Burrow on a contract, and, there's this thing called a salary cap. They've got a lot of money invested in that offensive line too.
Well, I think the problem that I have right now with this team is the fact that you let a lot of guys walk. You let DJ Reader walk. You let Jesse Bates walk. And we were told that it was because you needed to pay Joe, Jamar, and T, not in that order. And here you are. You've only signed one of the three, and you still have two large question marks. That you brought in Sheldon Rankins, who Lord knows what happened to that guy. I don't know.
I don't know either. And then, obviously the defense was great this year, or the offense was great this year. Yeah, that was a slip. The offense was one of the top offenses in the NFL, number one passing. I shouldn't say couldn't run the ball, didn't really have to run the ball, I think, is why you see them ranked like 30th, because if I've got Joe Burrow, I'm going to throw the ball a hell of a lot more than I normally would anyway. He did get sacked a lot. He did get hit a lot. And that's why you're going to have a new offensive line coach. And,
that was another free agent. That was another free agent gaffe, though, in the running back they brought in from Indianapolis.
Yeah, Zach Moss.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Their personnel the moves have left a lot more question marks than answers here in the last couple of years, in my opinion.
And they're going to get whacked when they do sign these wide receivers because they're going to be at top price.
Well, and you waited too long. We talked about this right as soon as when Jamar was holding out. You and I had the discussion that he was going to cost more no matter what you did. Even if he doesn't have a Triple Crown All-Pro season, he was going to cost more waiting because the market resets every single offseason. So you knew you were going to be paying more, but now you're paying top dollar.
But you want, signing both of those guys. So we'll see what happens. But the hell of it is, every year there's good receivers coming out of college now. It's not like it used to be. I mean, there's talent plus. Ohio State's got three guys that could probably play for the Bengals now. They wouldn't start over Jamar, but they're damn good players. And these, those guys are on rookie contracts when they come in. It's just, I don't know. I think the Bengals might be hamstringing themselves. We'll see. But I don't know. It may not matter who the defensive coordinator is.
If Joe is as good as we know he is, why haven't any of the other receivers they've drafted taken a step to be in a position to replace T. Higgins?
I don't think they've made good moves at those spots.
Joe's supposed to be the best quarterback in the NFL, right? I've seen Tom Brady win with Andre Yosevich type guys.
I don't think Zach Taylor's a good play caller or good offensive schemer. If you look at
could be part of it. I mean, they took a shot at Jermaine Burton, and that's proved to be right.
Everybody knew that kid was
I know. That was like drafting Odell Thurman. Everybody knew he was, you weren't probably going to have him very long because he's going to do something stupid and be out of the league. And Burton seems to be taking that path. I know this, he probably wouldn't be on my team next year if I'm running that organization. But I don't know. I worry about what they're going to do when they sign these guys. And, they have this real pretty offense, but are they ever going to be able to invest in that defense? And what are they going to do with Hendrickson this year? I mean, he's going to want something, right?
He wanted something last offseason, but he didn't know that you couldn't get re-upped 2 off seasons in a row. His agent was an idiot.
Right.
They showed their hand.
So what happens this offseason?
Well, yeah, because now he's the best. Like he's the leader in sacks. So
Right.
Well, how the hell do you have the offensive player of the year and the defensive player of the year and not make the playoffs? It's bananas.
It is. The whole thing is bananas.
Joe is
whole
arguably the
thing.
MVP as well, by the way.
Right. Right. Yeah, we'll see what they bring in as coaches. I really I felt like the offensive line was a problem, though. I just never. They've got good individuals for the most part, but it just never seemed to click. You know, some of it was injury driven, but everybody has injuries. It just didn't ever seem to mesh as well as what I thought it was going to when they brought all these guys in. So we'll see who they bring in for the line. I think they'll make an improvement there with the line coach. Defensive coordinator, God knows who they'll bring in. I mean, but you know, there's some names tossed around today. The Raiders defensive coordinator, the guy that was with the Patriots. Right. I don't know how much of an improvement that's going to be.
No, I agree. I know I've seen some people throwing around that you brought this guy in to make sure you check the box on the Rooney Rule, and if that's the case, I don't like that one little bit. The fact that you have the Rooney Rule brings this conversation even up, which is gross, I guess, in and of itself. But I don't know. I don't know what to do with any of that. But
right, you'd like to think past all that, and that
sure.
You
but
find productive guys. And I mean, you know, speaking of that, I mean, what about the defense we saw out of the Lions on Sunday night against the Vikings, and what Aaron Glenn did when he chose?
Amazing.
That was as ballsy as it gets. When you're saying, okay, I'll leave this kid on Justin Jefferson while we're going to just blitz the hell out of the quarterback and bring heat, and it worked. It worked. And that's, you know, I'd love to have Aaron Glenn come down here and coach. I can tell you that.
They also have excellent personnel because anybody goes down on that Lions defense, and they got another guy stepping up to replace.
They do, and I guess a lot of that does go to personnel. But you know, you got to have good coaches too to make that work. And
weird,
obviously they do, right? And you know. If it's my football team and I've got the team that the Bengals had this year and you don't make the playoffs, you got to seriously look at cleaning house. You just do.
Could not agree more. I don't know that we have anything more to add on that without starting to beat the dead horse into the ground.
We're beating the hell out of it. We beat the hell out of it on UC. We won't beat the hell out of it on the Reds. But what in the hell are they doing with Gavin Lux?
I hate more infielders, George.
I hate them so much.
I'm not totally. I mean, okay, they gave up a prospect who was what? Was he 10th in their system or whatever?
Sure.
You know, and a draft pick. But this guy, you know, 27 years old, left-handed hitter. He may be able to help him. Actually, I'm not down on that move at all. I think that's a pretty good move. And if he can stay healthy, and that's always with the Reds. But Gavin Lux has had some bad luck with injuries. But once he gets back and healthy, and he had a hell of a second half of the season, I think he can be some help. Now, where does he play? I know. He's going to be all over the place, I think. But I was reading up on him, and he had some Steve Sachs issues, I guess, at shortstop, where he was throwing the ball all over the place. And I saw where Nick Krall said they might throw him at third base some. But I think he may be looking at outfield and second base for the most part.
That the thing is, George, and John Clark gets into what I'm going to bring up. The need is a power bat at a corner outfield spot.
Yes.
And you went and made your big splash, or what you gave up a top 10 prospect, and probably more importantly, a slot pick at the end of the first round. So an extra first rounder is going to be out the door that you don't get because of this trade. So that tells me they're probably not going to go get a middle of the order big outfield bat. And then what are they going to tell us? Well, we're moving Matt McClain there.
Well, unless they
that's what we're going to hear
now.
Well,
they might make a move.
Our old friend Leather
You have faith
Pants.
in that?
I don't have high confidence of that, but they've got more capital now to spend that people might be willing to do a deal with them for. And there's some guys sitting out there that still have some pop. Now, they're not going to go get that Santander guy that had 44 home runs last year. He's still sitting out there. I think, like you said last week, was it last week, Aaron, you brought up Jesse Winker?
2 weeks ago.
It's probably going to be someone like that.
Our friend Old Leather Pants, Jim Bowden, he said that we apparently signed Gavin Lux to package him in a deal to the Yankees. Now, I don't know what that does for you. I don't know.
Juan Soto? Oh, wait, he's gone.
I don't know what that does for you. I don't know who you're targeting on the Yankees. I don't know the Yankee system that well. But I don't know. I don't understand why you'd trade one guy. Somebody in the chat here brought it up. Alan, why would you trade India, then go sign another second baseman if you already had India, who you knew was a good locker room guy, unless you just wanted to get rid of him because he spoke out against the front office?
It's a very good question. It's a question one of my friends had when that trade was announced too.
He's better than India. So you trade India and then you go get a better version of India. I don't mind that logic, but that doesn't address the need of a corner outfielder with some pop. And they have not done anything to Jesse Winker, what does Jesse Winker answer? Like, if Jesse Winker is the answer, what the fuck is the question?
I don't think he is either.
But a player like him, Jordan,
right.
Even somebody like him.
Right. You need to go get a bona fide freaking hitter for one of the corner spots. And, we knew that from the first day the season was over, that's job one. Yeah. And they have not addressed that. And I don't know. Maybe Gavin Lux ends up in left field. I have no idea.
He has no pop.
So
he doesn't answer the question.
Well, if you're putting him in left field, you're taking out Steer. You're taking out Spencer Steer, unless you're putting Spencer Steer in right field for Fraley or Benson or whoever else you.
Well, you know what? Yeah, I would take him over any of those. And we still don't know about first base. I mean, what the hell? That's
first is a question. Problem. Third is a question. Right field is a question. Like, spring training is in like a month, and there's still a lot of questions that all I hope is that the answer for them is not, well, you hired Terry Francona.
Right.
Well, so that can't be it.
Wouldn't you think he would have, I don't know what assurances you can make to the guy that you have to commit to and have to follow through on. But wouldn't you think he took that job knowing we got to throw some more here into this lineup than what we already have, and I'm not taking this gig unless we address that?
It sounds like they sold him on the same bag of goods that they sold us. Look how young we are. Look how talented we are. Gosh, our best years are ahead of us. Yeah, but there's still some holes that you need to address in order to be a contender. Because if you're going to contend in the National League, the Brewers are doing it better than you. The Dodgers have all-stars at every position.
Right.
Like, if you're serious about winning, it's not with the roster that they're taking into spring training right now.
The Cardinals have been doing it better than them for a long time.
You also did bring in a right-handed pitcher, Owen White, that you traded and brought him in from the Rangers for.
I really hope they don't have to use him.
Cash considerations.
I really hope. Actually, with pitchers, you got to use them all. My God, how many have they gone through? They get hurt all the time now, and it's just like Francona said, the minute you think you have enough pitching, you better go get more because you don't have enough. You never have enough. But this guy, I mean, a highly thought of guy when he was younger, but he just hasn't panned out. And he's been not very good at the AAA level and god awful at the major league level. Yes. Small sample size at the major league level, but he just got tattooed.
He was a high prospect that once upon a time.
Yeah. And how many, I mean, baseball, that might be the hardest one to figure out, but you're dealing with these younger guys, a lot of it's high school kids, and it's just hard to predict how they're going to progress. I mean, look at the kid. What was that kid they drafted from the Pittsburgh area a few years ago in the first round? Austin Hendricks. I haven't heard much about him at all. I don't even know if I see him in their top prospect list.
Somebody, George, in the chat says, I play Golden Tee at Remington Tavern. Wanted you to know. So.
Oh, nice. Yes. Keep putting those. Well, I don't know. I guess it's with a credit card now, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. You don't have enough quarters to play Golden Tee.
Yeah, I know. I remember when it was. God. Oh, man.
So you'll remember this. Do you remember that little like liquor store bar as you went out to the airport off of Donaldson Road on the right-hand side or the left-hand side?
Yeah.
We used to live right down the street from that. And like 3 times a week, we would go to that place and we would play Golden Tee for like 3 hours.
Yep.
To the point where your thumbs were raw.
Yeah. Yeah. I had so much fun playing that. That was
I love that game.
Yeah.
If I ever got a game to put in my house, it would be Golden Tee. Like I'd buy a Golden Tee and just leave it. But I think to do like the leaderboards and shit, like you can have it at your house, but you still got to pay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just I've got a few friends that have it, and
at their house?
Yeah, a couple of them.
Oh.
They're not close enough that I'm over there every night or every other night or every week. But
fuck you, money.
Yeah, there's some guys I know that have that. I haven't quite graduated to that. I've been just playing the damn PlayStation PGA game where you make the player that looks like yourself.
Yeah.
You have your career, and I mean, I got a lot of trophies from that golf. I have none from real golf.
You're not even George, the best bowler in your friends group. Rufus kicks your ass.
Oh, Rufus is he's when Ruf and I first got back into bowling about 15 years ago, I might have had a little edge on him for a little bit, but god dang, after he got back in the groove after about a year, he has just pummeled my ass. He's out of my league.
I do want to give a shout out.
Yep.
Congratulations to Joe Daneman, Ohio Sportscaster of the Year.
Oh, nice. I'm happy for him. That's good.
Love Joe D. Dude works his butt off.
Yes, he does. When did that come?
Congrats, Joe D. He just posted it on his Twitter.
Well, I'll have to send him a little congratulations note. Good for him. He deserves it.
Getting back to Reds real quick here, George.
Oh, sorry.
You're fine. We just got off on that Golden Tee tangent. I get it.
I'm looking into how much one of those bad boys costs. I want one.
I'm just curious. I don't believe they have, but do you think that this team has done anything this offseason to improve from 75 to 80 wins?
Yeah.
Do I?
Mm-hmm.
No. It's the same team.
You do, Chad?
I like the addition of the starting pitcher that they got. They needed a guy to be a number 2 behind Green. I think they went out and they got that, a veteran that can eat some innings and has had success.
They improved the manager position.
They improved the manager position. I think the bullpen is still strong. I have questions offensively. I think where they're at right now, this is going to be a team that struggles. You're going to see nights where they score 8 runs and then just as many, if not more, nights where they score 0, 1, or 2. So if the question is, do I think they've improved to the point where they're going to get to 80, 84 wins? Yeah, I do think that. But I don't think that's what anybody's asking for.
No.
I don't think anybody wants it. Now, do I think they've improved more than that? Do I think they've made themselves a playoff contender or a team to win the World Series? No, I don't think they've done that. I do think they're going to be a 500 or, the sweet spot for the Castellinis is like 84 wins, man. They can get to 84 wins. They had a fucking great summer.
Well, somehow
enough to keep you interested.
By the third week of March, I'll have myself convinced that they'll get to 88 wins. I guarantee it. I'll be somewhere between 88. What I say last year, 87 or 8, and then guys started getting injured, and they were dropping like flies the minute I said that. So I'm not even making a prediction this year.
I can't wait to get the list of George futures bets on this Reds team.
I had Frankie Montas for the side up last year in week 1. I made that bet.
Oh my God. I remember.
I know that was a flyer. That was like buying Bitcoin 20 years ago, except it turned out a lot different. It went the other way.
Between the Reds, the Bengals, and the Bearcats right now, I'm miserable on all fronts.
I'm exhausted. I've got to get it. Yes.
And by the way, before we go, good luck figuring out this fucking league. Have you seen the scores tonight?
Yeah, I saw a couple earlier.
Texas Tech gets a nice win at BYU. BYU's kind of in the same boat as Cincinnati right now, wondering what's going on. Iowa State drubs Utah. Arizona beats the shit out of West Virginia. And Oklahoma State, a 13-point winner against Kansas State. That Kansas State loss is going to sting for a long time. But this conference doesn't make a whole lot of sense yet because the first 2 nights, it looked interesting. Last weekend was blowouts, and this week so far is blowouts. And that's not what a good league does, where, 60, 70% of your games are decided by 15 or more points.
Yep. No, that's true.
You think Kansas State stings? Wait until we lose one to like a Colorado or a Utah.
Oh, the way they're playing right now, they will get beat at Colorado. Colorado doesn't lose at home.
They're playing 3. They're playing 3-17 right now.
Yeah.
Not good. Don't say that.
All right. Before we get out of here, one more thank you to all 100 plus of you knuckleheads who are still in here. We do appreciate you listening to the part that George and I normally do. Second of all, thank you to Remington Tavern for sponsoring George in the Jungle. As always, you can find them at 8892 Glendale Milford Road, 45140, where they have their daily happy hour from 3 to 7 p.m., $5 bourbon whiskey Wednesdays, bottle cap bonanza Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m. You can find them on Instagram at RemyTavCincy or follow them on Facebook. Also, if you haven't yet, like and subscribe to this little channel so you get those notifications to jump on the show when we go live. Chad, anything to add before we get out of here?
I can't wait to talk to Dave tomorrow night. Boy, it should be fun. Really looking forward
to that.
Yeah, thanks.
And I like Alan M's last comment. That's hilarious.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We appreciate you all sticking around and getting the George in the Jungle experience. Now, I challenge you to be back here every Tuesday night. It's a good show. That'll do it. We'll see you. I was waiting for you. I thought we were in your portion of the show, Aaron, but I'll close us out. That'll do it. We'll see you next time tomorrow night for the BCJ pod. I'm sure that'll be exciting. More to come on BearcatJournal.com. This is the Aftermath, brought to you by Mio's and George in the Jungle, brought to you by Remington Tavern. live from the Cincy Light Studios right here on BearcatJournal.com.
Thank you.
See ya.